Hey everybody,
Hi everyone.
this is for the March update.
March update.
Already, we're starting the third month of 2024, and here we are.
Here we are in the Sonoran Desert, our new home, our new backyard,
Yeah,
and it's just a wonderland. It's been good moisture, and the flowers and leaves are just about to really pop, and
yeah.
it's just miraculous how quickly they take advantage of a little bit of water.
We actually saw a few of the red blossoms on the tips of Ocotillo, and the Ocotillo had such green leaves. There's been a lot of rain for this time of year. They say that it comes here in January and February, but then also the monsoons in July. But
Yeah.
this is not a rainy climate, and so water is at a premium.
And that is the theme of this month's talk with you is water, and it's I think it's appropriate, not just living in the desert. It's just appropriate for a lot of places around the world because the water cycles are changing profoundly with climate change. It's interesting to think that there's not been any more water added or different water since the Earth was formed. So you might fill up your glass and be drinking the same molecules of water that a dinosaur drank
That's,
all those years
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
But water is so magic.
Well, and then a dinosaur peed. I mean, if you want to get graphic, because this is the way, this interdependence is just no joke. And as we say often, we can acknowledge that or not, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
It's the fact. And that is how our species and all others continue forward. And so, of course, water has been, for many human groups and human communities, quite sacred. I got to spend some time with the tribes along the Columbia River, and water is absolutely sacred. It's used in all sacred ceremonies. And of course it is. Water figures in a lot of psychology, in fact, or there are psychological effects of water. We know this from recent meditation tapes, right? And from the existence of ancient and modern rain sticks. You know, the sound of water, the sound of fountains is cleansing, is calming. Water is vital to our emotional and spiritual health as well.
It's sort of interesting. 70% of the Earth is water, although only about 3% of that is fresh, and a tiny fraction of that is available to us because most of it's underground. But 70% uh, of the Earth is water. 70% of a human body is water. 70% of most trees, at least deciduous trees, are water. So, yeah, all of these creatures, these life systems and organisms and species, we're all running on water. We're all running on water. You know, water is really, I know biologists call it the nature's solvent, and it's what breaks things apart and allows nutrients and oxygen to be carried in the blood to the cells. It helps keep the shape of your cells. It's cushioning for your brain and your spinal cord. It's just, boy, and you can only live about 3 days without it. You know, you might go a month without food, but
Can't go
water,
without water.
uh-uh.
The same for all of these cacti around us. And as we were walking out in this land earlier this morning, we came upon bees on the ground, and there were many. I had heard individual bees around, but there were, a cluster of bees, maybe a couple dozen bees. And I looked more closely, and the land was the soil was slightly damp. And I don't know, the last rain we had was considerable, but it was about a week ago.
Yeah, yeah, and things dry
Um,
out quickly.
yeah, but still there was enough damp in the shadowed area, and the bees were right there. And I don't know because I'm not a bee biologist, but I'm assuming that they were after what was left of the moisture.
Yeah, you know, and I know that in different places around the world this is happening, and it's probably only going to happen more, is to look to how desert plants exist on so little water. You know, some of them are waxy with small leaves, some of them drop their leaves when the dryness comes, some of them have light colored hairs that reflect the sun back out into the air, and so they don't get as heated. And those kinds of technologies, if you will, that the plant world has come up with are going to increasingly probably be present in places like the American Southwest and the Middle East, and parts of drier regions around the world.
And already are in some ways. One of the things that was so striking to us when we visited Tucson this time last year was how every parking structure, and they weren't enclosed like they are in colder climates, but they were big, and if they had roofs on them, all of the roofs were covered with solar panels.
Hmm.
So there's one of the things about community in the desert that has been impressive to me is that, what did you say? There's some evidence that Tucson is among the most climate resilient cities
Yeah.
in the world.
Well, that's according to one rating system, which we found hard to imagine. But, like you
We're
said,
seeing it.
yeah, with the solar, and there's starting about 40 years ago, they started to recapture all their gray water and their runoff and put it back down into the aquifer. So it's not just Tucson picking from the Colorado River. And, there are limits to growth in this desert, like
Yeah.
every other
Right.
part of the world. So it's not like you can just have millions more people come in and be able to handle it. But a long time ago, they recognized that if they're going to keep on living, they're going to have recapture technologies for water. And so in some ways, while this is one of the more water stressed places, it's also a good place to us to come learn what people have realized by living here and how they're adapting to that.
When you have continuous inhabitation for that long,
Yeah.
people know something about what they're doing for certain. And this is
Hmm.
the case of indigenous peoples in all desert settings. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that a whole lot of population can come in there and be sustained. The carrying capacity of this kind of land is not great when it comes to humans and the structures and the infrastructure and all of the things that we have established as normal in development of cities. So there's a lot of listening, of course, that needs to be happening. Listening to water, listening to the presence of water, and listening to the absence of water.
Yeah, just to the east of us is part of what is believed to be the longest continuously farmed area certainly in North America, 4,000 years, starting with the Tohono O'odham, who are still here, and yeah, they have been here caring for the land for a long time. As Mary pointed out, though, that they didn't have the impact that the modern city has, and the modern city, especially populated by people who aren't all that necessarily always concerned about how much they're using. We as Americans use between about 50 and 100 gallons of water every day. And that's, I don't think that's going to be entirely sustainable as the aquifers get drained in various parts of even parts of the country that are fairly well watered.
And certainly with water conservation efforts, even just being water smart, we can reduce that. And this is a place where people often are asking us, what can we do? Well, what you can do is act locally. What you can do is watch your water consumption. No matter how flush with water your ecosystem is, it matters what it is that each of us does in our water consumption. So that's a thing. I had the opportunity this month to talk with the executive director of the Sonoran Institute for How It Looks From Here, the podcast. And he was talking about, we were talking about what can bring people generally, a broader public, into relationship and connection, and not just, oh yeah, I get it intellectually, but real feeling for the environment around us. And he spoke about community-based conservation. And, and this is a way that water has been teaching people thanks to the Sonoran Institute. They bring people together every year, and probably many times a year, I'm not quite certain about that, to clean out the river bottoms, which go dry in the dry months, so that when the water comes, it's not washing debris downstream. But what he is seeing happens from sort of really from a psychological standpoint, and certainly an emotional, and I would suggest even a spiritual standpoint, is that when people have some investment in how the river looks and how the river flows, when it flows again, there's this, and they have another gathering, and they, wow, this is so cool. And he doesn't prime for that, but rather listens to hear whether or not that comes forward. And so there is a way that water, not just a way, there's so many ways that water has been our teacher for as long as we've been beings on this planet.
You know, we talked not long ago in the last deep dive about the author who said, make it your goal to try to love everyone within 50 miles. And maybe we could amend that to say to love everything, everyone and everything within 50
Yes.
miles. And that's that kind of local-based conservation. This is your kinship group. This is your family within 50 miles, arguably. It's what allows you to live and live well and enjoy your life. So it's worth respect and treating all of it well.
So water, consider water. And on the 12th of March,
12th of
we'll have a
March.
next deep dive where people from all over the country come together to chat, to go deeper into considerations of water. And the cool thing about that will be people who are in different ecosystems with different water situations. In most cities, water is an issue.
Yeah,
So-
either lack of or is it clean? Is it polluted?
And then there's the flooding that
Sure,
California is
right,
experiencing, and that I'm sure farther up, northern, more Midwest and the North will have those experiences when spring comes on.
Yeah.
Because this is the way it's rolling. these
Yeah,
days.
climate change is really reordering a warmer atmosphere holds more water, and therefore a lot of places that are sort of rain driven for much of the year are going to get a lot more of it and a lot faster. And so that's a whole different set of problems, again, though, related to water.
So we invite you to join us on the
Please
12th
do.
of March for a deeper dive. At 6 o'clock Mountain Time, we'll be sending a notice out to our email list. And so if you're not on that, please go to our website and go to the bottom and become a subscriber, and we will make sure that you get the information. Then,
Yeah, while you're on that website, check out the 2 retreats we've got coming in June in the magnificent Centennial Valley of Greater Yellowstone in southwestern Montana. One will be just a full ecology week-long deep dive, 5-day deep dive, and the other will be full ecology as a platform to stand on to teach writing.
Yeah.
And we'll have a lot of craft sessions that will serve as insight moments, I promise you, for how to accomplish better, more cohesive, more engaging writing. And then half the day will be out in this magnificent wilderness with moose and wolves and 200 and some kinds of birds, so we can expand our relationship with the natural world. And that's the energy that you use as a nature writer to write what means the most to you. So we're really looking forward to it. Last
And
year
so-
was wonderful.
it was very wonderful. And so the first one, the full ecology retreat, is going to highlight more, place more forward inquiry into that relationship. Who are you really in relation to the natural world? What do you want really in relation to the natural world? So this will be, we will use meditation, we will use writing, we will use silent time, and we will use inquiry with each other. We will also have Chef Oscar Yip, who is going to be chefing for both of our retreats, joining us in the first one to link all of that inquiry and investigation with food and with our relationship with food. And so we hope that you will be in touch with us at connect@fullecology.com with any questions that you have, and we're looking forward to those 2 retreats and having you along with us.
So thanks for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you for the deep dive, and hopefully some of you for one or even both of those retreats.
And that website address, www.fullecology.com.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right.
have a great March.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you next month.
Bye for now.